Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Oregon Ducks adding to the 2024 class, landing four-star commitment linebacker Dylan Williams. And I get it's been kind of a tough 24 hours for the Oregon fans, losing out on five-star edge rusher Elijah Rushing. This is a Ducks class that you have to be extremely excited about what they're bringing in. It seems like kind of the national media kind of ignoring what Oregon's doing on the recruiting trail, talking about some other programs. I know Ohio State's getting a lot of buzz. Clemson's getting a lot of buzz. Those programs are doing well. The Oregon Ducks, though, a top 8 class with 19 commitments. We're going to talk about what Dylan Williams brings to the table. We're going to get to the fun part regarding some of these other top targets for Oregon. I mean, this is the top 50 national dudes, the 5-star caliber guys that are considering trending to Oregon. We're going to talk about what we're hearing from that as well, because you have a ton of depth in this class, and we'll talk about that. But Oregon's still trending for kind of their top targets in this 2024 class. Before we get into it again, just want to say shout out to the Oregon fans. I know kind of the national media maybe been sleeping on the Oregon Ducks. We've been talking a lot of Oregon football on the recruiting trail. You guys have been absolutely awesome with all the support. So if you do enjoy the updates, you enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, can't thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown. The fellas, let's get into Dylan Williams, and I'm really excited about this. Is kind of Dan Lanning kind of linebacker, a linebacker that can fire downhill, that can go sideline to sideline, a guy that can play in space. And this was kind of the conversation we had, and I've had with a lot of Oregon fans about a guy like Noah Sewell. Justin Flo is a little bit of a different example. I think Justin Flo just really struggled to come back from the injuries and kind of play his assignments. Like I didn't have any questions about his athletic skill set. It was a lot more of just not really understanding what to do on the defense side of the ball, looking lost out there. Noah Sewell, on the other hand, a big body linebacker that when you say like blitz that A gap, come off the edge, or play inside the box, Noah Sewell is one of the best in the game. When it got to playing in space, a little bit stiff, a little bit big, and struggled to play in space like Dan Lanning wanted to. Guy like Dylan Williams, I think, will be a lot more successful in this defense because he's a little bit more athletic, can play in space. He has that length. I mean, you're talking about a guy probably going to be coming in 6'3", 215, 220 pounds. Again, probably got to put on maybe 10 pounds, but he's a pretty built kid, a thick lower half. But what you love the most is you go back and look at what Dan Lanning's linebackers did at Georgia. The guys like Nakobe Dean and Channing Tindall, they could fly around the field. They could blitz. They could go out in the flat and tackle running backs. They could carry tight ends up the seam. They could kind of do it all specifically in space. Dylan Williams is a guy that I love fitting into this Dan Lanning defense in terms of his ability to play in space. Let's get into Dylan Williams' film a little bit, because there's a lot to like. And I think the biggest thing you see with a guy like Dylan Williams is just kind of a ball seeker. Like whoever has the football, he's finding him, and he can blitz really well too. And Dan Lanning loves to blitz these backers, specifically up those A and B gaps. And Dylan Williams can fire downhill, can be very physical inside the box. You see a little ball skills too. I kind of lose what happened in this play, but all I know is Dylan Williams coming down with an interception, taking it back the other way. But what you're going to see that's most important is the ability to play in space, the ability to go sideline to sideline, to get downhill very quickly. That's kind of the stuff that has Dylan Williams as a top 200 national prospect, one of the best linebackers in the class. And specifically what I think is going to be just such a great fit in this Dan Lanning defense. Again, stacking, shedding a blocker. We can pause it right there. I get he's undersized, and we'll watch that play again. A little bit undersized, I get it, but he does not play undersized. Like, takes on a guard, stacks him up, sheds the block, makes a play. Like, he doesn't play small, but he does play athletic, and that's kind of the perfect blend of what you want in a linebacker. A linebacker that is athletic enough, like here, to get out to the sideline, make a play in space, but also his ability to play inside the box and take on blockers. Here you go, seeing him again, shed a block, work through the traffic, go find the ball carrier. Again, probably the biggest thing you want in a linebacker is just a linebacker who knows how to find the football, and that is Dylan Williams. The dude just lights it up. And you take a look at this class for Oregon. If you guys want to continue to go check out Dylan Williams' highlights, I highly advise it. It was a blast to watch him. A top 8 class, you have 19 commitments, adding Dylan Williams into the fold here. What I love about this class is they haven't even landed a top 100 guy nationally yet, and they will. We'll talk about those guys who will be joining this class, I think. but the depth of this class is absolutely beautiful. Like a ton of guys who are in the top 200, top 250. You have your quarterbacks in Moga and Michael Van Buren, who we talked about on previous. I love how they balance each other out. Van Buren being more of a polished guy who you feel good about, and then Moga kind of just a wild card, like a freak athlete. Jaquan McRoy, we talked last week, really big fan of him. So you're building the trenches. You have some nice guys in Jordan Anderson at the wide receiver spot. But what I kind of am most excited about is just the depth. Like so many guys in the top 200, top 300 national ranked guys, a bunch of 4-stars. But let's get to the fun part. Like the part that I think a lot of Oregon fans are interested in is this class is top 8 right now, and it hasn't even like hit their top targets yet. Talking about some top targets they got. 5-star defensive lineman Aiden Breland, who 24/7 Sports has as the number 2 defensive lineman in the class. This is the type of recruiting battles I think are right up Dan Lanning's alley. Like if you're a defensive lineman, you're trying to figure out where to go play football. You want to go to a place that you're going to compete for national championships, be developed into the NFL. And that Oregon checks both those boxes. The work Dan Lanning's done specifically on the defensive side of the ball, and even more specifically on that defensive line in terms of developing NFL talent is next level. And guys like Aiden Breland are for sure going to be noticing Dan Lanning and what he's doing up in Eugene and what he did in Athens, Georgia. I like Oregon's chances to get Aiden Breland, but you take down and you go down the list. Again, Braden Platt seems to be a guy that might be trending to Oregon. And you're talking about some really good linebackers because we're going to talk about another linebacker real quick in Justin Williams, the 5-star linebacker from the state of Texas. You go get Braden Platt, Justin Williams, and Dylan Williams in your linebacker group. I mean, that is a loaded linebacker group that you feel really good about the athletes that you have. And again, that's been a staple of the Georgia's defenses when Dan Lanning was there. And I feel like he just didn't get that same linebacker play when his first year in Oregon. He gets those guys like a Dylan Williams, Justin Williams. You feel really good about it, but we're not even done yet. Like a 5-star offensive tackle, Braden Baker, I think you feel really good about his chances to go to Oregon. You pair that up with Jaquan McRoy, feeling really good about that offensive line. And then the last guy I want to talk about, Nate Frazier, right? Another modern day kid who I know Georgia and Alabama are making pushes, but you look at Alabama or you look at Georgia's class specifically, they already got 2 running backs in their class. Nate Frazier, a top 100 dude, one of the best running backs in this 2024 class. I could see him being in this Oregon class. Moral of the story is you would probably, if you're an Oregon fan, be pretty happy about what this class looks like right now. And you fast forward the signing day and you sign a top 8 class, a top 10 class. I'm feeling pretty good about the recruiting class coupled with Dan Lanning's development, and you're feeling good. I think this class could be a top 5 class. If they land a couple guys more like Justin Williams, Brandon Baker, and Aiden Breland, you're looking at a top 5 class. You couple that with the phenomenal development Dan Lanning has shown in terms of player development, you got to be just so excited if you're an Oregon fan about this class and then the future of this program, because I think they're really just getting started. This is going to be a really fun team to monitor. They don't get talked enough about, so we'll try to do our best talking some Oregon Ducks recruiting on this channel. So we appreciate you guys checking the boys out. Again, if you do enjoy the updates, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate y'all rocking with the boys, and we'll talk to y'all later.